Tonight, an emergency landing last night at Regina Airport. The bull wildfire moves closer to Waskesiu. And calls for investment from Ottawa for more ways to get potash to port.
Live from our studios in Regina, this is CTV News.
Good evening. Passengers flying from Hamilton to Vancouver have finally reached their destination after an unexpected stop here in Saskatchewan. A Porter Airlines flight had to make an emergency landing in Regina last night. Wayne Mantika explains why.
Airport emergency crews were on standby as the Porter Airlines flight made an emergency landing in Regina. The flight was over Montana when some passengers and cabin crew detected a faint scent similar to something overheating.
I was just sitting there and the stewards were looking inside the baggage compartments. We were asked to pull out our cell phones and if we're charging, and looking at the laptops.
The search was toward the back of the plane, so not all passengers were aware of what was happening.
We could feel something happening, but we couldn't figure out what it was.
The captain made a decision to divert the flight.
The pilots decided they were going to divert to Regina. Then they announced they were going to go to Calgary. And then I smelt it again the third time. So I alerted the flight attendants. And then this time they decided to go to Regina.
The aircraft touched down in Regina at 8:20 in the evening.
It was pretty alarming how many crews were there. I figured it was just protocol, but still definitely alarming. And we didn't know what was going on at the time, so that added to it. But I would say we felt safe.
The airport says standard emergency procedures were implemented,
which include activating our 24-hour on-site fire service and also contacting our emergency response partners.
The 91 passengers and crew went to a hotel for the night as a replacement aircraft was flown in.
Yeah, a little concerning, you never want issues in the cabin, but no, they handled it quite well, very professional and safety first, right?
Passengers boarded a replacement aircraft in the afternoon to continue their journey to Vancouver. The aircraft involved in the incident remained behind for further inspection. Wayne Mantika, CTV News, Regina.
A wildfire in Prince Albert National Park is moving closer to Waskesiu. Jasmine Pelche has more on the current wildfire situation and details on how the province plans to rebuild communities that are impacted by the wildfires.
The community of Denair Beach lost 300 of its 400 homes to wildfire. The province is committing $1.8 million towards Denair Beach's recovery. The money will come from the province's $20 million commitment to rebuilding efforts for communities affected by wildfire. There are 8 active evacuations across the north, and the SPSA says around 1,100 individuals are evacuated at this time. There are 49 active wildfires burning across Saskatchewan, with only 7 listed as contained.
We are bringing resources in, as mentioned, including from across Canada, across the continental U.S., and from our partners abroad. That is in addition to the 154 Type 3 firefighters that have been employed to assist us locally.
Over in Prince Albert National Park, the uncontained bull wildfire is now just over 30 kilometers from the town site of Waskesiu.
A joint incident management team is responding to the bullfire, and while the Waskesiu town site is not at immediate risk of fire, a voluntary evacuation has been issued in an abundance of caution.
The bullfire is estimated to be 38,000 hectares, with nearly 7,000 falling within park boundaries. Parks Canada says weather conditions are expected to lead to fire spread. Parks Canada says if the fire spreads to the south of the Crean River, it'll evaluate weather and fire conditions to determine if an evacuation order is necessary.
There continues to be a fire ban in place for Prince Albert National Park and a closure of the northern areas of Prince Albert National Park.
Highway 916 remains closed as a result of the bullfire. Jasmine Pelche, CTV News, Prince Albert.
All right, let's jump to weather. Sabine in our weather center, and it was was an okay day, but kind of gloomy as well in parts of the Queen City.
Yeah, it's just taking a little bit for us to get right back into where we were before with those warmer temperatures and more sunshine, Lee. But yeah, we're going to pretty much see exactly what we saw yesterday, today, continuing into tomorrow as we slowly climb back into those seasonal temperatures. The good news is we are starting to see a lot of those special air quality statements lift. However, we still have some warnings in effect for northern Saskatchewan and just that little area now around Prince Albert. Earlier it was including the Saskatoon area. That has since, of course, is starting to lift. We did see more cloud cover rolling through today. Temperatures not quite at the seasonal range. Temperatures still sitting in 20 degrees for many parts of the province as we take a look at those current temperatures. As I mentioned, though, the average usually is about 25, 26 degrees. We got up to 21 degrees late this afternoon, and we'll continue just to get closer to those seasonal temperatures 1 degree at a time, I guess. I'll have more details coming up for you in your forecast. Lee?
Thank you, Sabine. Well, in an effort to make Saskatchewan an energy and mining leader, the province is calling on Ottawa to invest in more ways to get exports like potash to port. Damien Smith has more.
Potash prices are quite stable. That's kind of where we like them to be.
Mosaic Canada, Saskatchewan's mining sector is getting back to normal.
It's in a stable place, not what we saw back in the period when the Ukraine was invaded by Russia. We saw sky-high potash prices, and that's not actually very conducive to the market or to producers in the long term. So the market we have right now, it's stable, we're making lots of tons, and our customers want it.
Saskatchewan is projected to bring in $7 billion in mining investments this year. That's why the provincial government is calling for federal investment in national energy corridors to get more resource products to international markets, especially given trade uncertainty with the United States. The province also says that better trade offers better security against a range of potential problems.
As we move forward in the province and also in Canada, is that we position ourselves as an energy superpower so that when we do have these challenging situations like wildfires and droughts, that we are able to support those industries.
The Mosaic Company also has U.S. operations in Florida and New Mexico, but Canada remains the largest producer of potash in the world, most of it coming from Saskatchewan. But tariff uncertainty is also present in the sector. Potash, along with other energy imports to the U.S., currently faces a 10% tariff, but it's expected to be exempt from the threats of 35% tariffs on Canadian goods later this summer.
We don't believe that any fertilizer product should be tariffed, as it's meant for humanitarian purposes to grow food, and we're going to continue to be pushing for that on both sides of the border.
The next focus for the province is pipeline projects, where they'll need to acquire licenses from the federal government that they say have been sitting in the books for the last 10 years. Damien Smith, CTV News, Belle Plaine.
Leadership with the Beardies and Okamas Cree Nation is sending a warning to residents involved in drugs and illegal activity. It has issued a letter dated July 14th addressed to what are referred to as occupants of homes of interest. The letter states drug sales and trafficking, gang-related activity, as well as other illegal activity is happening at certain homes in the community. Leadership is warning that if the activities continue, the names of the people in the homes of interest will be made public and that law enforcement and housing authorities will take further action. It says a meeting with the heads of the households will be held August 1st with a follow-up to ensure compliance 2 weeks later. The leadership says it will support people struggling but will not tolerate illegal activity. A 50-year-old Prince Albert man has died after a vehicle collided with a moose. RCMP said it happened on Monday night around 10:30 in the evening along Highway 55 just west of Smeaton. The man who died was a passenger in the vehicle. The woman driving was taken to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. A second passenger was not injured. According to a recent Royal LePage house price survey, Regina's housing market remains active compared to other cities across the country. Sierra D'Souza Butts tells us more about what this means for people looking to buy and sell in the Queen City.
Fewer than 400 homes for sale in Regina means limited choices for people looking to buy.
It's definitely a seller's market right now. Not a lot of inventory.
Based on a recent Royal LePage house price survey, Regina remains one of the country's most affordable major cities. According to the report, the aggregate price of a home in Regina increased to about $398,000 and is projected to rise to around $406,000 by the end of the fiscal year.
We didn't take off like the rest of the country country did during COVID, where some of these places like in the east along the ocean, New Brunswick, Nova Scotia, they had huge price increases. And so it wasn't so much that we've changed, we stayed the same, and the rest of the country was majorly overinflated.
Of the 64 cities included in the report, 38 saw year-over-year home prices rise or remain roughly flat, while the other 26 saw prices decline. However, with the market for housing options in Regina being tight, associate broker Rory Clark says more inventory is appreciated.
We're under 390 right now, 390 single-family houses for sale. We should be in that 7 to 750 range this time of year. So anything that's coming on the market, if it's a good house that's priced right, is selling.
The report also found that while the median price of a single-family home rose by 4.9% year over year, the median price of a condo decreased by 4.3%.
If the home builders start giving us more supply, I think that eventually that will balance it out.
Even though a 7% increase in Regina's housing market is predicted by the end of the fiscal year, Royal LePage Next Level says there is no guarantee how long it will stay for. Sierra D'Souza Butts, CTV News, Regina.
For 50 years, the Regina Farmers Market has been a spot to celebrate all things local. Now they're taking a step in a bit of a new direction, helping those in need get fresh produce onto their tables. Mick Favel explains.
With food prices still high, especially for fresh produce, the Regina Farmers Market is doing its part to help. Starting this week, the market is rolling out a new voucher program designed to get fresh foods to those dealing with food insecurity.
We want to make sure that there isn't anybody who is hungry or going without, and I know when times are tough, it might be hard to access fresh products like we have here at the Farmers Market, so it's just nice to have this program in place where we can remove a barrier and make sure that it's accessible for all.
Inspired by other programming currently happening across the country, talks about how a nutrition coupon program would work began 1 year ago. It's created a unique way to both bring in new shoppers and introduce one of Regina's best outlets for locally baked and grown goods.
This program is a perfect way to be non-discriminatory. It's discreet shopping at its best because these coupons are not just offered to the less fortunate people, they're offered to the public as well.
Getting the program off the ground was made possible through a grant from Nutrien. Families or individuals looking to use the voucher program can do so through the YWCA Regina.
This is a really great way that we can support our community and we can pull together and help those who are struggling or could benefit from a program like this. It's a really great win for the folks at the YWCA Regina, and it's also a great win for our local producers.
The coupon program is only starting out, but the goal is to make it a permanent part of the market and potentially even expand it going forward. Mick Favel, CTV News, Regina.
A few neighborhoods in Regina saw a delay in trash pickup today after a city garbage truck fell into a sinkhole. Behind the Tower Strip Mall in North Regina, a sinkhole suddenly appeared where the garbage truck eventually became stuck. It took a tow truck to get it out, but crews were eventually able to do so.
Well, the front wheels were down, like it, and the ground was cracked. They just paved that area last summer, so this is kind of surprising.
City officials are still investigating the cause of the sinkhole. Back to Pach is ready for another year. The festival celebrates Métis culture, history, and language and features fiddle performances, jigging, and chuck wagon races. Pach Days began in 1970 and is held on the historic site of the Battle of Pach, representing a movement towards reconciliation. Last year's four-day festival drew about 50,000 people. Back to Pach kicks off on Thursday morning. And a bit of a special birthday party celebrated at the Saskatoon Zoo this month. The zoo is throwing a party July 21st to 27th to celebrate the 20th birthday of grizzly bears Mestea and Coda. To mark the occasion, people are invited to sign a giant birthday card for the bears. There will also be a scavenger hunt as well as educational sessions. More details on dates and times can be found on the zoo's website. The Prime Minister reveals how he plans to help the steel industry plagued by U.S. tariffs. And First Nation leaders are cautious over talks with Ottawa about Bill C-5. The Prime Minister was in Hamilton, Ontario this morning, where he had a message for Canada's steel industry. He says Canada will become its own best customer, introducing new measures to support a sector that is dealing with American tariffs. Heather Wright has the latest.
This Hamilton, Ontario steel fabricator has been in business for 70 years and had been sending nearly 70% of its products south of the border. Now that number is close to zero.
This is Steel Town for a reason.
Today, the Prime Minister was in Hamilton announcing measures to help Canada's steel industry. By the end of the month, Ottawa will tighten the quota for steel coming from countries without a free trade agreement like China and Turkey to half of 2024 levels. Anything beyond that will face a tariff of 50%. This measure is aimed at reducing foreign steel that has flooded the Canadian market, much of it diverted here after the United States imposed tariffs on the global steel industry in March. And with Canadian steel producers effectively shut out of the U.S., Mark Carney says this will help them sell their products domestically.
For Canada to build big things fast, we need our steel industry to advance, not retreat.
As Canada embarks on massive infrastructure spending, the Prime Minister also announced that any companies bidding on government projects will have to use Canadian steel.
We will change the federal government's procurement process to require companies contracting with the federal government to source Canadian steel for government contracts.
The tightened quota and increased support for laid-off workers announced today come after the steel industry said measures announced last month didn't go far enough.
We got things going on south of the border. We can't control all of that. But what we can control is here in Canada. Let's make Canada the best.
Asked about ongoing trade negotiations with the United States, the Prime Minister would not say what level of tariffs Canada would accept, nor would he say whether Canada would impose additional retaliatory tariffs on U.S. goods. He said both were good questions, but said answering them in the midst of trade talks would be a bad response. Heather Wright, CTV News, Hamilton, Ontario.
First Nations are fine-tuning their expectations ahead of a key meeting with the Prime Minister. The summit was called in a bid to ease concerns about a major projects law that Indigenous stakeholders say fast-tracks development without their consent. As CTV's Rachel Aiello tells us, some First Nation leaders are questioning whether Mark Carney is simply trying to check a box.
First Nations leaders set expectations today for tomorrow's big gathering in Gatineau.
This is not consultation. This is a first meeting of many. This discussion will be led by us.
The Prime Minister organized the meeting to discuss the implementation of Bill C-5 after Indigenous stakeholders felt their rights were not respected in the rush to pass it through Parliament. They now want Carney to listen.
We're going to give him the benefit of the doubt that he produces tomorrow.
I'm a bit more cynical. I do agree. I mean, just look at the process.
9 Ontario First Nations, though, aren't waiting, launching a legal challenge to the federal law and a similar provincial plan to try and prevent both governments from using their new powers to sidestep existing protections.
These bills from Ontario and Canada show that the Crown has no interest in reconciliation.
Today, Carney was asked,
have your belated consultations jeopardized the goal of getting new projects built?
Well, first, no.
He went on to say tomorrow's talks are about engaging on how to work together in the future.
What are the priorities? That's before any consultation on any specific project.
The Ontario government is also consulting First Nations this summer, with Premier Doug Ford's office promising to build consensus around projects that support prosperity. And Carney has additional plans to have conversations with Inuit and Métis leaders in the coming weeks. Rachel Aiello, CTV News, Gatineau.
Last night, a security incident at Vancouver Airport sparked by a man who stole a small plane from Victoria and flew it to Vancouver. Airport officials were so concerned that fighter jets were deployed from the U.S. The flight took off from the Victoria Flying Club. Airport sources tell CTV News the suspect organized a private flight with a pilot. The suspect then produced a knife, and somehow the pilot escaped. That's when the suspect flew around Vancouver, flying high and low, repeatedly telling controllers he wanted to shut down the airspace for 5 hours to protest global warming. YVR operations were shut down. Fighter jets were scrambled, but a half an hour later, he landed and was arrested. Nova Scotia RCMP say it's reviewing around 5,000 video files as an intensive investigation into the disappearance of 2 young missing siblings continues. RCMP says it's also assessing more than 600 tips and examining evidence including a pink blanket. Lily and Jack Sullivan were reported missing back on May the 2nd. It's believed the 4- and 6-year-olds may have wandered into the woods, but there has been no signs of them for nearly 11 weeks. Last month, the province of Nova Scotia began offering a cash reward for information on their disappearance. Tense moment was caught on camera today as Israel launched airstrikes inside Syria. A reporter from Al Jazeera was on air when a strike hit the building behind him. The initial blast was then followed by another explosion. Israel launched powerful airstrikes in Damascus, hitting near the presidential palace and damaging the defense ministry. The attacks marked an escalation in a campaign Israel said was intended to push militants away from its border and protect the Druze religious minority. A volcano erupted in southwest Iceland today, belching smoke and lava. Magma forced through the Earth's crust opened a massive spot between up to 1,000 meters long. But based on data, it is likely this was a relatively small eruption. There are reports people were evacuated from a nearby town and a spa resort, but flights at an airport in the capital were not impacted. This is the latest in a series of outbreaks near the capital in recent years. Iceland has now experienced a dozen eruptions since geological systems in the region were reactivated in 2021. Coming up, a warning for Ryder fans. Watermelons can be explosive in the right conditions. The explanation after the break.
Tomorrow on CTV Morning Live, we are checking in with YQR CEO James Bogus, breaking down the latest travel numbers, and surprise, surprise, they're up.
News, weather, and traffic. It's everything you need. CTV Morning Live, weekdays 6 to 9.
Back. Let's take a look at your forecast as we get ready to, well, we're not getting, well, it's the middle of the week. You know what? We're getting close to the end of the work week. For some, if you're on holidays, you probably don't even know what day of the week it is. All right, let's get right into the forecast. 21 degrees in Regina right now. That is the warmest we got up to for the Queen City. Again, the average being about 25, 26 degrees. Doesn't look like it's happening in the next couple days, but we will get back there eventually. Cloudier conditions for a lot of the day as well, but we will start to see a little bit more sunshine as we head into tomorrow. You can see on the radar satellite, not a whole lot in terms of active weather. We are starting to see a lot of those air quality statements lift, just a little area around the Prince Albert surrounding areas. We did have it actually reaching into Saskatoon just earlier this evening, late this afternoon, and that's starting to slowly lift as well. But what you don't see here is that we still have some air quality warnings in effect for the north. So still hoping to see those eventually start to lift. But in terms of central southern Saskatchewan, so far we are looking at nothing when it comes to air quality, but we will start to see a little bit of rain start to arrive, not until we get into the weekend. So this is what we got coming up in terms of active weather for our trackers. So we will see little pockets of precipitation in parts of southern Saskatchewan. It's not until we get into tomorrow late afternoon. You can see that system coming in from Alberta, first reaching into the southwest Swift Current Maple Creek area, eventually coming down into the Assiniboia area by tomorrow evening. And then we will possibly see some rain come through the Regina area early morning Friday as that system continues to pass through the Assiniboia area and eventually make its way into the southeast area around Estevan by Friday morning. So any rain that we do see in the Regina area would be most likely first thing Friday morning. Could see some scattered showers later in the morning, just with that system continuing to make its way through into the southeast. And then as we get into Friday late afternoon, some more just scattered showers throughout parts of southern Saskatchewan. Again, Regina could see a little bit of that. You can see a little system just around the Regina area. And then as that clears out by Friday, we won't really see much when it comes to active weather for precipitation. condition. As we get into Saturday, though, there is more cloud cover rolling through and more rain expected for Saturday night into Sunday, continuing to stick around by Monday morning. This is an updated look as to what we can expect between now and to Saturday morning. Again, as that system is coming through from the southwest, most of that rain expected to be in and around the Maple Creek, Assiniboia area. Regina could see up to about 2 millimeters of rain, same as Moose Jaw. So most of that into central southern Saskatchewan, but again, the most expected in that southwest, along with Hudson Bay expecting to see up to about 13 millimeters of rain. We know systems change. That could be a little more than that. It could be a little less than that. So we'll just keep an eye on what that tracker is showing us for the rest of the next couple of days here before we get into the weekend. Temperatures, some in the north getting closer to that seasonal range. Lloydminster tomorrow 23, could see some scattered showers as we saw on that tracker. 21 for Saskatoon, a mix of sun and cloud, mostly cloudy for Yorkton. 22, the southwest seeing those similar temperatures with Maple Creek, of course, seeing a little bit more of that active weather coming through. The southeast, same story, low 20s for many parts of the southern half of Saskatchewan, including right here in Regina, dipping 11 degrees tonight and then warming to 22 tomorrow. Mostly cloudy conditions. And here's a look at what your next 7 days is looking like. So yeah, we're not seeing the seasonal temperatures just yet in the next 7 days, but we're close. We have some close days. So mostly cloudy tomorrow, 22, 23 in a mix of sun and cloud Friday. Clouds returning Saturday, 24, with the rain expected to return Saturday evening. And it looks like it could be quite a bit of rain, up to 10 to 15 millimeters expected Saturday night. More rain continuing into Sunday with the temperature at 23 degrees, warming to 24 Monday. Could see some showers first thing in the morning. Tuesday, a mix of sun and cloud, 20 degrees, and then cooling off with more rain returning Wednesday at 19 degrees. So doesn't quite feel like the hot summer conditions we were seeing a couple weeks ago, but we're going to get back there. We were looking at those temperatures early today as well. By the end of this month, we will see those temperatures return to what we were enjoying before.
Yeah, but right now, pretty consistent when it comes to the highs for each day.
Yeah.
7 days. Okay.
Consistency is good sometimes.
It is.
There you go.
When it comes to weather.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Sabine.
You bet.
So yes, we're not going to see extremely hot temperatures for likely a few weeks, but when it does come, frying eggs on the pavement might not be the only experiment you're going to try. Matt Gilmore investigates the case of exploding watermelons.
It popped like a balloon. Water went everywhere.
You may have seen videos like this circulating online.
Can anybody out there tell us what the hell is going on with our watermelon?
Of watermelons oozing foam, the insides turned to mush. One CTV viewer who wished to remain anonymous because of his work sent us these pictures of a watermelon he bought earlier this month that exploded on his kitchen counter hours after he brought it home from the store.
It's actually a very natural process of fermentation, basically.
Food industry expert Sylvain Charlebois says it's actually not uncommon for watermelons to explode during extreme heat.
Sugar gets converted into gas inside the watermelon when it gets really, really hot, especially in the summer.
And because the peel is thick and airtight, pressure can quickly build.
You can easily make a natural bomb out of it because it's so tight and the gas will stay inside.
Charlebois says it's a good idea to check watermelons for bumps or dents before buying them. Signs the watermelon has already started to ferment, usually because of a mistake during transportation.
Sometimes there's a breach in the cold chain, which could actually trigger the process of fermentation prematurely. So by the time the product gets to the store, it's already too late.
It's most likely the reason this watermelon exploded shortly after it was brought home. Charlebois says you should never eat a watermelon that started to ferment and recommends taking it back to the store for a refund. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
Everywhere.
Still ahead with Super Mario out for this week, the Riders turn to their Luigi to take over the running game.
Wardrobe consideration in part by Colin O'Brien Men's Shop.
The parade to the injured list continues for the Riders. Kick returner Mario Alfred will not play this week after getting banged up late in the first half versus Calgary. But as Donovan Mays tells us, it opens the door for a Rider rookie who made quite the statement in the preseason.
For a second straight day, the Riders without return specialist Mario Alfred at practice as he deals with a hip injury. And while not ruled out yet, head coach Corey May says it is unlikely he'll be ready to go in time for game day on Saturday against the Lions.
He went and got some final imaging yesterday, so we're just waiting on the results. It's probably going to be tough for him to go this week.
Alfred takes this just inside the 40. And a good burst up to midfield.
The 2022 Special Teams Player of the Year going down on this play in the first quarter against the Stamps.
Ultimately, it sucks for him. But in saying the same thing, you know, we all have confidence in Dre to be able to go out there and execute and make plays, and he showed to be really dangerous in the preseason.
In Alfred's place, Dre McCray expected to get the nod for his first regular season game in the CFL.
I'm excited. I'm thankful. People have been helping me, bring me along, so I'm excited for the opportunity if it comes.
In 2 preseason games, the Texas Tech product had 240 return yards, including a big 51-yard return against Winnipeg. The rookie says his most vital asset has been Alfred.
He just helps me wherever I need, if he has a tip or something, or if I have a question. Sometimes we bounce ideas off each other just to help each other get better, and he's been a really big help and a really good mentor for me.
And despite the confidence in McCray, losing Alfred still a big hit to the return game.
That's Super Mario, man. That's a tough one to lose. Certainly, he's been playing out of his mind, I thought, to this point in the season.
Now, staying on the injury front, Sean Bain Jr., a limited participant again Wednesday, while Samuel Emelis was a full participant but only getting limited reps with the first team offense. The receiver says he took an extra day to deal with a foot injury but hopes to be in the lineup on Saturday. Donovan May, CTV News, Regina.
And welcome to another edition of X's and O's with Wes Kates. We're trying something different this week. Hopefully the Riders will try something different this week. What happened with the Calgary Stampeders? Wes, let's talk a little bit about the rush defense. The Riders had the best rush defense in the first 3 games, but lately it seems they haven't been able to stop the run. Gave up 134 yards against Calgary, 130 versus BC, who they face again this week. Do you have any concerns from what you're seeing on that front?
I'm not really too concerned. I just think that these teams understand that with the Riders playing off coverage and kind of playing a more of a read and react defense, that they can probably get some push if they bring in enough bodies. I did notice that Calgary did come out in some heavy sets. They actually started the game in a heavy set when Vernon Adams threw that pick, but they went back to it. And I think BC, understanding that maybe their passing game isn't as efficient as they would like it to be, will probably try to stick to the run as well a little bit. So I think that the Riders are going to have to understand that teams aren't necessarily fearing their run defense as much as they have in the past, so they're going to have to prove that they can stop the run and then take it from there.
Now, breakdowns have really hurt the Riders in the secondary. We saw the catch by Alfred where he was wide open behind Brooks against in that Calgary Stampeder game. BC, they're starting to pick it up passing, though, with Nathan Rourke, who will be at quarterback. He didn't play quarterback against the Riders in their first game against each other. So what is your concern, or do you feel okay with the secondary? Because it seems to be they're giving a lot of big plays up.
Well, yeah, I am a little concerned because Nathan Rourke, as you mentioned, was having some troubles. He missed a couple games due to injury, but he's looking pretty good physically, and he's a run threat. Both of the Canadian quarterbacks that are starting, much like Trey Ford, they're definite run threats. I think Rourke, I saw a couple of good throws on the run out of him last week, so I think that just based on the way he's progressing and playing, that the Riders do need to worry about that. I think that the Riders will definitely make some adjustments. Obviously, the Riders have plenty of great athletes, so I don't think it's a question of can they compete or are they matched up well. I think it's just more about throwing a few more wrinkles in there on defense and offense. So we'll have to see how these Rider coaches really adjust, because the league is kind of condensing and teams are getting more competitive. Obviously, there's a couple towards the bottom, but it seems like a wide open race right now.
Offensively, they couldn't get the run game going either, the Riders. But let's at least finish X's and O's with some positive news. Joe Robustelli, fantastic performance, gets his first touchdown, pretty close to 190 yards receiving. He had a big game. It seems like the Riders receiving court's somebody different every game. Emilus in the first game. You saw Keyshawn Johnson against Hamilton. In Toronto was Dante Myers. How do you keep these guys in the lineup? Because eventually we're going to start seeing guys getting healthy with Emilus and eventually Sean Bain Jr. Because you got to find a way to keep this guy in the lineup, right? Considering Trevor Harris has compared Robustelli to a guy like Greg Ellingson.
Yeah, I think Robustelli showed that he can play in this league, and he's a threat. He caught the ball pretty much on just about every type of route, right? He caught some short ones, some deep ones, and then he made plays with the ball after he caught it. He's a big, athletic guy, and he went out there and proved that he needs to get the ball whenever the opportunity presents itself. I think that definitely a lot of that was Trevor Harris just adjusting on the fly and realizing that Robustelli was maybe the receiver that team that was getting dropped in coverage against Calgary. But at the end of the day, I think that Trevor Harris and the Rider offense is going to have to shake things up. We're going to have to get creative.
All right, we'll see if the Riders can avoid back-to-back losses. We'll review that game. Plus, we'll look forward to the Edmonton Elks game at home on another edition of X's and O's next week.
X's and O's, brought to you by Campion College at the University of Regina.
Still to come, checking out the latest technology for farmers at Ag in Motion.
Your rural forecast is looking like heading into tomorrow, similar as what we have been talking about throughout the forecast for the next couple of days. We're going to continue to see those temperatures gradually get back into that seasonal range, and we're going to still see the clouds sticking around for some parts. In some areas, a little more than others. But in terms of temperatures, some areas like Meadow Lake, Hudson Bay, we're going to get closer to that seasonal range, 25 degrees for Meadow Lake, Hudson Bay 24. Wynyard could see some storm activity in the late afternoon. 21 is the expected high there. As for Watrous and Kindersley, could see a little bit more cloud cover rolling in. 21 is the expected daytime high. And then many other areas seeing a mix of sun and cloud and 23 degrees. The closer we get to the southern border, a little cooler. And again, we have that system coming in from the Alberta side. So we're going to see a little bit more active weather possibly for Maple Creek, East End Cypress. And again, Maple Creek could see up to about 15 millimeters of rain once the system is completely cleared out. So 21 for Maple Creek, 19 for East End Cypress. Over in the southeast, 22, low 20s for many parts of southern Saskatchewan tomorrow with a little bit more of that cloud cover. But if we take a closer look at Grenfell, located 175 kilometers east of Regina, also where internet speeds up to 1 gig are available through SaskTel. Nothing but cloud cover for Grenfell. 20 degrees is a daytime high.
As Ag in Motion continues in Langham, visitors from far and wide are looking for the latest and greatest in agriculture technology. With more, here's John Flatters.
For the thousands of visitors to Ag in Motion, everyone wants to know how they can farm more efficiently, more profitably, and more safely. And over the years, drones have entered the conversation.
We've been doing this for 10 years now. Drones are in active use by hundreds and hundreds of farmers for imaging crop primarily for a lot of years. And then over the last 3 years, we've shifted from just looking at the crops to actually applying product.
New models consistently enter the market with higher weight capacity and better safety features, meaning farmers can use them to apply products like humic acid. But federal regulations still prohibit the use of pesticides with drones.
So every pesticide label has to be approved by the Pest Management Regulatory Agency. It's a federal agency under Health Canada. The provinces do have some role in enforcement of the regulations, but it is primarily a federal responsibility.
Other companies using the Ag in Motion show to unveil newer, bigger tools for the field.
Our 7-plex family of air hoe drills, and those are the ones beside us here. That's up to 100 feet of productivity, 7 different folds. It kind of forms into a cube of steel in transport.
It's It's also a chance to use computer software and artificial intelligence to give farmers a full picture of what's going on under the soil.
It allows us to stream data wirelessly into other carriers like John Deere Ops Center, CNH Field Ops. Customers want all their data in one side, and we decided to work with these partners in order for Bourgault to be fully integrated into that customer's ecosystem.
And advancements in tractor technology are making a long day much more comfortable, whether it's a cooler for your lunch, GPS, air conditioning, or a smoother ride.
These tracks actually have full suspension underneath them there, so people are running around 26 miles an hour on the road. Usually you feel that grouser, the lugs, you feel that vibration. We've got a rubber block in there and movable parts. In the cab, it's smooth, better than most half-tons.
Western Canada's largest farm show wraps up Thursday. John Flatters, CTV News, Langham.
Stocks both on the way up today. The TSX up 98 points, the Dow Jones by 231 points. As for the Canadian dollar, it went up almost 0.2%, back up to the 73 mark at 73.07 cents US. Gold up $22.58. West Texas Intermediate Crude down 18 cents. Western Canadian Select Crude was down 88 cents. And gas in Regina still hasn't moved. You can commonly found it at most, if not all places, at $1.31.9 cents per liter.
The federal government is cutting the amount of foreign steel that importers can bring into the country tariff-free. It's part of an attempt to support the domestic steel industry, which has been hit by levies imposed by U.S. President Donald Trump. The Prime Minister, Mr. Carney, said Ottawa will tighten the zero tariff quota for steel products from countries without a free trade deal with Canada to 50% of last year's volumes. Above that, a 50% import duty will apply. Meanwhile, as trade talks with Washington continue, Bank of Nova Scotia economist Derek Holt says Ottawa should consider excluding U.S. companies from major infrastructure and defense projects as part of its response to Trump's duties. And finally, investors continue to pile into nuclear-related stocks today. Shares in the giant Canadian uranium miner Cameco, which now also has a stake in the reactor business, hit a record high. Those are your business headlines. I'm Andrew Bell of BNN Bloomberg.
Coming up tonight after the newscast, MasterChef, followed by Gordy Ramsay, good old Gordy, and his Secret Service. Battle of Generations at 9, Big Bang Theory at 10, E-Talk, and then some local and national news. Battle of Generations, we will say there is a Regina tie.
That's right.
To the show tonight. All right. Well, if there was a mistake in your Tim Hortons order, my bad. Should have taken it anyway.
And look, we just were getting rejected. That wasn't a rejection. Some people just weren't wanting the bracelet. But today was, of course, camp day at Tim Hortons. Lee and I headed out to the Tim Hortons in the Greens, and we were helping serve coffee, donuts, and selling some bracelets, all that were going towards the Tim Hortons Foundation camp. And tomorrow, of course, 19 kids are actually heading off to camp from Tim Hortons here in the East End. So it's nice to see. We were attempting to do the work, I should say. We had our friends from the morning show out there too this morning, attempting to help raise funds for all these underserved kids and youth that can take part in summer camp. So
there you go.
Yeah. So thank you to the DeStassis, John, Mike, and the whole crew there.
There.
Yeah.
Fun fact, what do you think Sabine's favorite donut is? Better question, what's probably the one that you don't want? Old-fashioned, you just said? Right on.